All right, got recording, streaming. Just upload my stream from yesterday up, so it's public, ready to go for you guys. So today, well, good morning. Hopefully everyone's doing great. All right. Blah, 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 blah. I was supposed to read this yesterday. Got busy playing Call of Duty, so I'm just kidding. I was doing a lot of work stuff yesterday, and reading. So CCMP, boom. And I mentioned more about this every time I'm doing these streams and these videos because I gotta motivate myself. And actually, I already messed up. So part of the stuff that I'm supposed to be doing as well, in addition to streams and YouTube, is that just kind of giving you guys different avenues to hear me. If you miss a stream, it's fine. If you don't like, if you're in the car, it's fine because guess what? I am doing podcasts as well, and there it is. All right. So first time me trying this particular setup. So we'll see how this goes. Yeah. Wondering if I could do this. Look, bam. How that will look. You guys want to check it out? Let's see. Let's start this. Over subscriptions. So, the reason why I want to do keep mentioning CCMP is because it motivates me to keep on reading it and don't forget about it, and holds me accountable a little bit. It's the main reason, honestly. And show you guys that consistency matters, right? There we go. All right, so here we go. Now I'm recording on my podcast, and recording on my stream. Let's do it. All right, cool. So everyone's talking about like spikes of internet. People are now using a lot on their home use and different hours of the day, right? So I wonder if we can see if I can just pull this up real quick. Oh, I think this one was a good one that I like. And this kind of plays a little bit hand in hand of designing your network for a certain what you're trying to do, right? So here we'll start realizing what ISP designed their network appropriately, which ones undercut on prices, came in lower, but then initially gave you more terrible internet. This is kind of CenturyLink's argument for their the guy is saying, yeah, we have DSL, but it's not shared. I think that's what he said. I think that was his excuse, was that it's not shared. Other places will give you cable and through coax, internet through coax, and you're sharing it with a few other tenants. Yeah, whatever, bro. I still on DSL. So understanding broadband performance factors, all megabits per second are not created equal. Now, what does this pretty much mean? I'll give you guys the highlights a little bit. There's a lot of technical jargon. So, okay, here's this, because this is a paper about something else, but I remember reading this part. Let's see, like ISPs not recognize the user not given not access to internet at the same time. Therefore, ISPs only subscribe to a portion of the network's total potential demand. For example, ISPs that has 1,000 subscribers with 10 megabits per second service managed contract for 100 megabits per second connection rather than a maximum 10,000 internet connection its users might require. The ratio of the network's maximum potential demand on the contracted rates is its oversubscription ratio. For example, the subscription ratio is 100 to 1. So if all the 100 people access the internet at the same time, we're screwed pretty much, right? So we have they have only a certain amount of bandwidth for the block. For example, you have a block of 20 buildings. You have only a certain amount of bandwidth to be able to share through that, because you only have so much runs and it costs to run more cable and just all that construction, all that, or even leasing out runs from like AT&T and these bigger providers that are able to pay to rip out the streets. Now, what does that mean for us? That means normally people don't use the internet at a high demand between 9 to 5. That normally people are not at their homes majority of the time. There's a few sprinkles in there, but there's not a lot of people doing it. They can actually, let's just say there's 20 people on the block, like I said, there's 5 homes that are people there, or the equivalent of 5 homes of usage. That's fine. Go use all you want, right? Because no one else is using it, you're fine. Now, what happens when all those 20 people are all using the internet at the same time, same devices? This is where this comes into play. Now, the ratio, let's see, as people on the internet access the metro service over subscription ratio is 7 or less. In addition, the metro service is often contracted with specific connections rush hour during weekends. See, at times users will not notice oversubscription, while other times oversubscription brings the user's connection to a crawl, no different than traffic on the weekends versus traffic on the weekday rush hour. That's extremely important. It highlights my point that they're talking about like traffic and beep beep traffic, but this is true. Weekend traffic now is becoming weekday 7 days a week traffic, right? I mean, people will eventually get bored, but in my opinion, this isn't, well, they won't get bored. Actually, correction. People are still using the internet for work from home and all this stuff. So you're having 7 days a week traffic. And what's probably happening now is that between Monday and Friday, you're having peak traffic, just high peak traffic. And on the weekends, it's probably dipping down and up. Back down again. It's probably like this, and then go up and back down. Because I think the traffic from the weekday is internet, voice, video traffic. Weekend traffic is video, just movies, streaming, and basic internet. I don't think it's the same type of traffic. So I'm wondering if like the ISPs will release that information, because you'll be able to differentiate that. You'll be able to, if they have the monitoring tool to do it. Pretty sure they do. Big organizations, right? And this becomes an issue, right? If ISPs got to make the money, and they got to make the most out of what they can offer and deliver to an organization. I mean, to a customers, and also organizations. But usually in organizations, they don't share too much. It's all direct connection for businesses. But for residential, that's what costs so much money, right? You can have a 300 megabits per second a download speed, but still shareable. You're still sharing it at some point, and oversubscription will still hit you unless you have a dedicated connection, dedicated bandwidth of. That's why getting yourself at a business dedicated line costs so much money in certain areas. In Los Angeles, it happens all the time, where the cost to get a dedicated connection in Pasadena could be a couple grand a month, and it's like, I don't know, 10 megabits per second. Like why? Like why does it cost so much money? Well, because we don't have the run there, or there's no fiber run to the street. It's an older community. You know, it just depends. The newer the community, the cheaper it is, because it's all going to fiber. So they're all doing the fiber runs. They have the what are they called now? Pinouts. They have the available fiber optics to plug into and share, lease, and even sell at some points. But run their own lines. It just depends, because I think I'm having, for one of our locations, I'm having them run direct fiber to my building. So they're running it. They're not actually ripping up the street. They're leasing that line from somebody else, and then I am having them run fiber from the building up to the suite. So we have it gets shared at this point. So from the suite, I wonder if I can do paint. Can I do paint on this? Oh snaps! We'll get the diagrams going. It's gonna get wild. Let's see. Oops, it's an organization. I'm trying to do that. Basic. We're gonna do basic here. Okay. All right. Cool. So we're gonna do. I guess I need more. This is pretty nice right here. So here's the building. I guess we do it this way. Here's the building. All right. Now we need to run. This is the street. And the street runs 1, 2, right? Then like a bunch of cable. Oh, fuck. Well, actually, I'm not gonna get that detail. I get real detailed on some of these. Okay, so this right here is AT&T. Right. So AT&T is saying, yeah, this AT&T on the street. Now, the vendor I had has no. Actually, I'll actually do this. And let's get the peripheral. The location is going here again. And let's actually make this Oh, here it is. This is perfecto. So I know this is a data center. However, we're going to pretend this is actual building of a suite. This is the suite itself, like in the second floor, third floor, fourth floor, whatever. So stick with me here. Now we have ISP. Let's do something that you guys know, like Spectrum. You call Spectrum for some internet. All right. So, and they're saying that you calling me like, I want a gig of internet. Um, 1 gig fiber. All right. That's what you tell them. I want 1 gig fiber. So what they do is that they find out whether or not do they have from the street, do they already have lines coming from here to here? Is this specific fiber run? Because there's already a bunch of them. I'll do this one. Do this one. This one, right? These are all different fiber connections. These are all different. Yeah, usually all these are fiber. All these are fiber connections. Some of them are leased to other people. Some of them are owned by Spectrum or others. So AT&T usually, or Verizon, some of the big carriers own the runs to the street. Now, the ISPs now sometimes they go right behind AT&T and dig from where they dropped at the fiber runs, dig a hole and then run. Okay, well, let's get 20 runs from the street, and I'm forgetting there's a name for that. Like, it's bugging me. So from the street to the building, strands. All right, so we got like 12 strands. We want to get 12 strands. We're going to get 24, whatever. How many strands do we want to get to from here to the building for this new building that like ISP, like as this conception of the building itself is being built out at year 1, and then 20 years later you come in and you contact Spectrum like, oh yeah, and then now we don't have any more runs available. Right, in 20 years we already used up all the runs that we purchased initially. Now we have to borrow. Now AT&T does all kinds of strands to the street. Like this is the street here. This is street. All right, bam. Now, now they're not gonna run more to the street. So once that's all, it's gone. Usually they're very conservative on how they. I actually don't even know the build out on how they plan on scaling. But because it's totally possible they need to run more, and then the building gets that big to the point of we need to run more cable, run more fiber, so they tear apart the street and redo it. I don't see that. I don't see how they. I'm wondering. I've never been in that side of it. I've only been in this side where from business reach out to here, customer reach out to here, and the communication between here and here. Right? I've only been part of that, not from there out. In any case, ISPs then contact the AT&T. They say, well, we can sell you or we can lease you. Sometimes selling it's more expensive. Well, oftentimes that's what it is. And Spectrum, for example, will say, okay, we'll lease it for how long? And then they have their own negotiations, completely independent from me. I'm not involved in this as a customer anymore at this part of the stage. Now they'll negotiate because Spectrum could say, look, how much for like a 5-year deal or a 10-year deal? I can use the line for another customer anyways if this guy doesn't renew his lease. And they're like, okay, let's negotiate a price. This is the price point. Boom. Okay, great. Now they come back to me and say, well, that costs you $1K a month. Right, and that's relatively low price. A really low price actually. But now for 3-year deal. Okay. Now I'm like, all right, okay, great. So what they do now is that they work with AT&T. AT&T runs strands here. AT&T works inside the building. This is on the basement floor. AT&T works with Spectrum. They get up and running. They make sure that strand that they're leasing is functional now. Boom, available strand. AT&T now hands off to Spectrum and says, your strand is now available. Your gigabit strand is now available. We allocated the bandwidth. It's tested. It's working now. It's handed off to you. Spectrum now is a deal with me. This is customer. And then I could be a representative. I could be an architect. I can be just a technician, depending on the magnitude of the project, right? If I'm, a technician can totally handle this type of work from customer ISP. Now the whole project itself is maybe, I won't argue, a little bit higher, at least an experience of what you order, and make sure you're ordering the proper setup, what you're ensuring that you're ordering something that's correct and you're not buying I don't know, something weird. You get something wrong delivered. But in regards to customer to Spectrum, this is where the internal house IT gets called, because ISP's in a building and they want to make sure that they get the internet working at the rack room, right? And so typically a mid-level IT guy or whatever IT they can find, specifically the best preferred would be like a network administrator, network technician would help sometimes to get access to the building when those higher ups aren't available. Right, and they run Spectrum from the building basement. Usually it's in the basement on the floor, something like a parking lot garage. I'm in a parking lot garage is where they terminate here, run it all the way to the 5th floor, then mid floor, and then down again for a suite, just depending on the hops. But for example, make it easier. So this is the basement floor. Suites, 1 floor up. Now, what Spectrum is responsible for now, and this is 100% theirs. It's not leased. This is physical hardware that they run that's owned by them. From here to here. This single mode fiber, 1 bandwidth, 1 gig to customer. Single mode, 1 gig to customer. Now they run this physical cable to the customer building. Now in the customer building, this is the rack room. Like they go into the rack room, they drop it there, they put a piece of hardware like this. Well, actually, this is a bad demonstration. Maybe if I can get you, because I do have something like that kind of. And this isn't exact either, but it gives you, of course. Hold on, what? Let's see. Equipment. There you go. All right. Get something like switch. And often, depending on what you order, is what they'll give you, right? Sometimes they'll give you a switch. I've seen situations like that because they give you a big old ridiculous switch that you don't need. Because you order possibly 1 or more fiber connections or something, and you want to do a few Ethernet handoffs. They give you a router, sometimes a switch, and majority of the time it's just like a router. And what they do, the guy comes in here, plugs in his laptop to it, so he'll get his PC, and then the drop goes from this connection here. Imagine that goes to here, and then what they do here is that he'll connect his router, his PC to the router itself, and it functions. Okay, we're good. Then Spectrum hands off directly to you. It's all right. Like, now this is all you now. So from here, you plug in. What would you plug in, guys? I think so. The basic network. Hate how I don't have my because I honestly didn't even think I was gonna do this, but I thought it was a good idea once I started doing it. Firewall. So your firewall into your router, then your router into your firewall into a switch, and then you'll connect switch, boom, and then the rest to your network, right? Like this is to your network, but I should don't want to do that. So that cable goes to your network, and then go on and so forth. You got switch, you got servers, you got whatever. Now, the reason I brought all this up is because if you lease here, and it's a dedicated lease, because you can lease with multiple other tenants. So when Spectrum leases out to AT&T, they can say, well, I want to buy one gigabit connection, single mode fiber on this cable. And they're saying, okay, great, we're pushing out 10. We have a 10 gigabit connection, and we'll give you 1 gig. We have 4 other tenants, they're all getting 1 gig. So you'll have a whatever that math is, the ratio is for that, and set and based on their oversubscription ratio, which is here. Right, based on their oversubscription ratio is what they'll give you based on how many people can hop onto that cable run without oversubscribing a certain amount of time. Now, businesses are different than tenants here at a apartment complex that I'm at. However, they still have a ratio that they follow. Now, when you're ordering something like how I ordered was a dedicated connection from here to here and here to here. We're not sharing anything until we get to the street. The street back, I don't know. There's no guarantee or at least specifics. Like I don't know if I actually don't even know how much that will cost or what it'll look like, because then that goes into kind of like more like dark fiber, dedicated connection from one spot to another, and then where you're going to go, because at some point you have to share. Because this goes to something, there's more runs there. It hits like a switch center, a big router room, and from there it switches the routes, it does all kinds of other stuff, and then you're eventually sharing traffic, but the traffic will be hopefully big pipes. Now that's what the concern is, right? So I'm gonna. It's safe to assume that all ISPs and all that are designing their infrastructure to be able to withhold abundance amount of traffic. Now, it's similar to IPv6, where IPv6 they designed it in such a way that they thought there was no way at the time. Like, there's no way we run out of IPs. Now we're running out of IPs. So there is a point of where your belief was, and then now reality, it's coming to reality where it is now. However, There is ways to mitigate that. There's like link aggregation. There's ways to maneuver and plan, especially now on this day and age. Internet's clearly the future. IP is clearly the future. So it'll be, I think the word is behoove of us, right? Behoove. That word is fucking hilarious to me. But it'll be in our best interest to run more cable, run all of that. In regards to like the ISPs themselves, like Verizon holding out on not uh, the ISP game is hard, right? It's not physical; it's hard. So wireless is the future. Sharing wireless signal and all of that. That's, in my opinion, improving the radio signals for allowing us to have gigabit connection on your phone and just like anywhere you go. That's amazing. I think the only concern there would be places like where I have concrete walls and steel and all that. But then the cost for APs are just minimal for so a couple $1,000s for like perfect internet. When customers come in and they're not frustrated, that's amazing, right? But in any case, oversubscription, this is what it's all about. This is how you avoid oversubscriptions by purchasing some dedicated connection from the street and all of that, dedicated fiber. However, you eventually still share traffic. So it's the ISPs, I think, you know, we're relying heavily on them. They're an essential part of our communication, especially the more and more people start working from home. Is that the future? I'm hoping it is. But for this type of design here, this doesn't happen for your home, right? It's just like thousands of dollars a month, and we pay a fraction of that, right? Normal people pay a fraction of that, about $100 to $300. It's usually the cost that normal people pay. People way less, like DSLs, $30 a month, 40. It just depends if you bundle it with a cable and all that. I'm not talking about just straight internet, but and this is a very low price for a dedicated fiber for a 3-year deal. So, and most places don't even have the ability to do this. Some people don't even have fiber to the street. Well, no, they do. They all have fiber to the street. Oh no, sometimes they have coax. Yeah, they have coax to the street and then run cable to your building. Some of them, there's no fiber in the area, right? And there's no fiber in the area, and they're like, "Oh, we have this. We can get you cable instead." Right? And it's great, but still, the bandwidth that fiber allows you to do, even if you leased and shared it, the likelihood of you oversubscribing is it's less than if you have a coax. Like me, I can tell my internet has been terrible lately. Dog shit, it's terrible. But and it's because of that. It's because of weekends are now becoming weekdays, and weekends are. It's like you're running your car at 10,000 RPMs and then hopping to 12 and going back to 10. There's like no rest. And so I predict likelihood of some ISPs experiencing some outages at some point, systems that never got kicked in because of maybe low balancing or something, start acting up and then crashing. Things happen. Things happen like that all the time. So I suspect that to occur if this continues. But what I would suggest for the ISPs would be, all right, once all this kind of blows over, we'll plan now. But once we have the downtime, again, we start upgrading for this to happen again. Because in my opinion, I think that it's gonna rise, drop, and then slowly start rising again, because I think companies are going to start steering towards that. So everyone's going to go quickly back to work and then slowly going back to remote work, because everyone's going to go back. Yeah, can I go back to work remotely? Can I go back to work remotely? Especially if this carries on for longer than a month or two. Right. So, okay, cool. I think I'm going to end it there. It was pretty fun. I like the whole showing you guys this. This is real cool. This was hard for me to understand reading a book, because I read about this when I was in college, but I didn't really fully understand it until I actually was physically there walking with the technician, the ISP technician. I thought they were gods. I'm like, this is dope. Like I was like new, and like I said, that's why I said the mid-level to network admins or technician types to work with the customer, like from here to here, because this is why I started from making sure that the Spectrum guy, after the order was placed, I didn't place the order. The Spectrum guy talked to level up guy for me, or girl, whatever, and I was a technician called on site. I was a field engineer, field technician to show up with the ISP to make sure he did his job, and I connected to the firewall, and I made sure our firewall was working, everyone was good, our customers were good, and then we're fine. But in some cases, I would help the ISPs from here to here on not just in the building, but physically find the cable runs. And this will be not fiber, but it'll be copper, right? These DSL lines that they run, they're using 10 megabits per second, right? And they're paying a lot of money for it. I'm talking about $600 sometimes a month, more, depending on the location. LA is crazy. And we're testing cable. We're trying to find it. We're tracing it, trying to find it. So sometimes I will system to here, and then here to here it's all AT&T. You don't even touch them. But in order to find AT&T, it's not hard. They have like these big. You'll find the MPO or for AT&T and Verizon, because they'll have like big blocks that say AT&T on it, so it's like not hard to miss. It's hard to miss. But yeah, cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this. So what's looking like is I stream in the morning and then I post it at night. So by the time it's edited, because like my computer's slow. It's not slow. It's not built for anything I'm doing right now. So I'm gonna be, once kind of the hecticness kind of goes away, I'll start building out my computer that I'll be able to kind of just pump a lot of these videos out. But I'm gonna be compiling this video and then uploading it to YouTube later on tonight, so you see that the video of yesterday's stream is up now. Just finished doing it in the morning, so it's up. This one's gonna be shorter, so hopefully it'll be faster to get it uploaded. So really appreciate your time, you guys, and drinking some coffee with me. So take a look, the itblog.info. Go and check that out. That website, it has all my podcasts in there. This one's going to be on all audio on that podcast as well. So hope you enjoy it. Peace.